There are plenty who believe that the Measure EE plan is a bad deal for Los Angeles County and will raise the cost of living substantially. Tracy Hernandez is with the Los Angeles County Business Federation, BizFed, representing some 400,000 employers in the County of Los Angeles. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Conan.
What is your biggest problem with Measure EE?
Well, it was a rushed ballot measure. It's a huge new property tax, and it has no reforms in it, no guarantees any of the money will get to the classroom, no oversight to make sure that anything different will come out of learning for our children. It was put on a ballot in the dark of night. It's a special election, blew $12.5 million of the taxpayers' money to put on a special. They could have waited and put it on a general election, had better voter turnout. They could have made the measure more useful for our kids and the teachers in the classroom, but instead they rushed it, they got it wrong. People should vote no.
So you believe that the school district does need more money, but this is not the way?
Well, we believe the school district first needs to get their fiscal house in order. They need to identify and better spend the money that they have. They have 65,000 employees, as an example, and only 24,000 of those are teachers. They have structural deficits that they do not address. The County Board of Education has been long warning them. They need to reorganize. They need to make reforms. They need to move the money they're spending to get it to the classroom so that we get better educational outcomes. And so first, that's what we believe. They need to get their fiscal house in order. They need to have reforms so that our kids learn better, the teachers have the tools they need. Then, once they've done that, come back and identify where the gaps may lie, then have a plan to fix that, and then show that to the voters, then have guarantees that that's how any new money would be spent, so that we know the outcomes for our kids will be better, rather than just going to paying for retiree health care benefits and pension benefits and bloated bureaucracy that they can't afford now.
They believe they will have oversight, that this money is going to be looked at carefully. It's not necessarily going to go to pay for essentially retiree health and health benefits and retirement funds. You don't believe that?
But that's totally incorrect. First off, none of that is in the ballot measure. Only the ballot measure becomes law. Any resolution that the board passes can be changed next week, next month, next year, and 5 years from now. Resolutions are not law. The measure and the ballot language is what is law and what the voters are voting on. There is no oversight. There is no specificity of where the money goes to. And in fact, just to prove your point that you made, is that the board in the 11th hour, when they were putting this ballot measure language together, at first it said it cannot go to retiree health care benefits and pensions. At the very last second of that board meeting, they removed that language. By intent, that shows you it's going to go to retiree health care and pension benefits.
But the fact of the matter is that the school district is in this financial fix. There's no getting around it. So if this doesn't pass, their argument is you are going to have teacher layoffs, there's going to be crowding in schools, there's going to be real harm being suffered by the educational establishment, the education of students, and that comes down, that has an impact on the business community as well. You don't get better employees.
Well, I mean, we stand for education. We stand for our kids being ready for work when they're coming out of school or ready for college. My kids were LAUSD kids. I mean, I was a PTA parent, so I know what it's like and what they're facing. The fact is, this story is overblown. It has been an issue that didn't just surface come January, that they needed to rush a ballot measure and have it done in February for this June election. They've known what their situation is, but they refuse to do reforms. And our current superintendent, who came in to tackle this and get reforms done, was unable to do it. In fact, he just said it recently. There are no reforms coming along. It's more of the same. So if voters and taxpayers and parents and families and employers want more of the same, which is LAUSD graduating half their kids that can't even qualify for a CSU college placement, then go ahead and vote for Measure E. If you want things to change, we have to say no to Measure E. We have to force the change, the real fiscal accountability, structural reforms, educational reforms, so the money we have is better spent. Then when we have a plan to fill real gaps that will help our kids learn better because they've identified that will work, then we go after and figure out the spending. It's not just LAUSD. They're trying to make it some big point that it's only LAUSD. All of our kids in the state of California are challenged with how do we better fund and manage our schools across the state, and the state needs to be a big partner in solving this problem.
Well, does a BizFed need to be a partner? So
Absolutely.
Are you committing, let's say, what if you win the day on June the 4th? On June the 5th, will you go to the school district and say, listen, talk to us, let's come together, let's figure out a way to get more money, but do it in a way where we can sign on to this?
Yeah, and we've been with them. I mean, we've been talking to them since for years. And we are at the table.
Did they talk to you about this ballot measure?
So what happened is no. So the school district started talking to us last summer about the issue that the funds weren't there, and this was in contract negotiations. So last summer we began, and BizFed was at the table, LA Chamber, VICA, many of the business groups, all at the table then, saying how do we solve? How do we get a contract negotiated we can live within our means? And then how do we go to the state and help the state get focused on reorganizing and funding schools? We're like, we're with you all the way. We were with them. And then all of a sudden they take this, right-hand turn, and in the dark of night, all of a sudden come out and put this ballot measure on, did not talk to any of us. The stakeholders that they were talking to, seemingly important, we said we'll help you solve problems, we want to be there, we're side by side, did not consult, engage, get any of our advice or opinions. They just came after the ballot measure was voted and said, here it is.
Tracy Hernandez is with the Business Federation of Los Angeles County and the No on EE campaign. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Conan.
I appreciate it. NBC4's news conference this week is preempted by the Indianapolis 500. We will be back June 16th. I'm Conan Nolan. Have a great Sunday.